It was shortly after I had been appointed headmaster of Canterbury in December 1989 that I received a phone call from a former student of mine from Cranwell School in Lenox, Mass. He called to congratulate and scold me for taking the job at Canterbury. How could I work at a school that was a rival of Cranwell's and had ruined the football team's chance at being undefeated? He recounted the story about a Canterbury player who ran a kickoff back 90 yards to tie the game as the clock ran out. The name of the player was Jimmy Lee. This Cranwell player went on to claim that he had been clearly clipped as he closed in on Jimmy. But at least, he said, Canterbury missed the point after, ending the game in a tie, 20-20. It's a true story.
It is a true story.
In fact, Jimmy told me that that record, that kickoff return, was a record held by a New England athlete for many years. Jimmy also had a great career at Canterbury, finishing up as a top student, co-editor of the Tabard, co-captain of varsity hockey, member of the football team, obviously, and co-captain of varsity track. Following his graduation from Canterbury in 1971, he attended Williams College, from which he graduated in 1975, with a double major in economics and art history, a true Renaissance man. He joined Chemical Bank in 1975, and in 1982 founded the bank's loan syndications unit in New York, which was the beginning of Chemical and then Chase Manhattan's investment banking business. Mr. Lee is widely credited as the architect of the modern-day syndicated loan market. Throughout his years in the banking world, Jimmy has been a pioneer, introducing a variety of market innovations which Chase initiated, such as one-stop financing, staple financing, and market flex. Under Mr. Lee's leadership, the company's investment banking business achieved numerous world-class rankings and has received many of banking's most prestigious awards, including being inducted into the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans, which is awarded by a justice of the Supreme Court. Today, he serves as vice chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase & Company and co-chairman of J.P. Morgan, its investment bank. He has financed and advised on many of the most historic transactions in the U.S. over his 34-year career. He is a member of Morgan's executive committee. As proud as he is of his professional accomplishments, Jimmy takes special pride in being on the board of the New York Police and Fire Widows and Children's Benefit Fund. He also serves on the private equity committee for Williams College and is a member of the board of trustees of the Inner City Scholarship Fund. He and his wife Beth reside in Darien with their 3 children, Alexandra, James, and Elizabeth. It is an honor and distinct pleasure to present today's commencement speaker, James B. Lee, Jr. of the class of 1971.
Tom, thank you very much. I think I'm prouder of that touchdown run than most of that other stuff, other than my family, of course. Tom, thank you very much for inviting me here today, and Bobby, thank you for inviting me. And it's a real honor to be here today. It's an honor to be your commencement speaker. I'm thrilled to be back here. The place that I can now see in hindsight was where I started on my own journey and began making the choices that would shape who I am today. And that topic, choices, is a topic I've decided to talk about today. When I knew I was going to travel up Aspetuck Avenue to the top of this beautiful hill, I naturally thought back to the first time I made that trip in the fall of 1967. My father had just died. He had also gone to Canterbury, and I felt terribly alone. I remembered my first dorm room, right there, top floor of what was then North House, now Duffy House, bunk beds, smallest room at the school, a true cubicle, and I remembered being told my first night that that was Jack Kennedy's room. Kennedy had come to Canterbury in September 1930 as an 8th grader. He left in April of 1931 with acute appendicitis and went home to Riverdale to recuperate. As I sat down to write this speech, I started to think more about Jack Kennedy, the man he was, what he stood for, the hope that he represented to a country which was then in turbulence, speeches he had given, and something that I could pass along to you guys that might help you a little bit. That's how I arrived at this topic, choices. As I went back to research Kennedy, I of course studied his inaugural address, given January 20th, 1961, at which Robert Frost was chosen by Kennedy to read a poem. I also reread a speech Kennedy gave at Rice University in 1962, which is loosely referred to as the "We Choose the Moon" speech. That's the speech where he said, within this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. Now, that was an incredible choice to make that commitment, as unconventional as it could possibly be. The more I thought about those two speeches and the man who started his prep school career here as a Canterburyan on the very ground that we're standing on right now, I knew I wanted to talk to you about choices. Every day of our lives, we are confronted with choices. How we make them, what we choose, it's all up to us. And after thousands and thousands of choices, who your friends are, do I go to that party where I'm unsure what might happen, where you go to college, what do you do after college, who do you marry, how do you raise your children? After all these choices, at the end of them all, there's just you. And you are the product of all those choices. Although Frost's poem at Kennedy's inauguration is widely viewed as forgettable, one of his poems that isn't forgettable is "The Road Not Taken." Let me read it to you. "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference."